Biggie, uh, a little bit of NWA. But yeah, I'll be pretty lost in that conversation if we're talking
That's
about
fine.
hip hop.
It's fine. I'll hold your hand as we guide you through, and just all you do is just nod and go, "Yup, yup, right, right." Uh,
That's a
so
different. That's a conversation for a different. I was going to say, speaking of hip hop, Kendrick Lamar's new album just dropped, and I was wondering what your thoughts about that was, because I hear there's some controversy because he uses,
the trans thing and the
yeah,
F
he
word
uses
and
some slang that most of us have probably have used, unironically or ironically in our lives, because we're bad people when we're kids.
right. One really good album. I like it a lot. Two, that particular song where he talks about his trans aunt. So, all right,
Yeah,
here's the thing. So, and actually, me and Keisha were talking about it. And for people who don't know, my friend Keisha is gay. But like I said, again, she's not a trans. I know those different things, but as a reference, anyway.
definitely difference.
Right. Yeah. But it's just saying it just to kind of why this conversation was being had. I cannot fault any artist, and that's of any race, anything, for creating a creative song but also giving them perspective of their reality in that song. So she was like, "Well, what would you feel like if a white person made that song, but it was about the N word?" And I said, "Here's an example to me. Like the musical artist Halsey. Halsey's half black, but if you see
Yeah,
her, it is nothing that looks black about this woman at
she's
all."
definitely white passing.
Right? Yes. So if she were to make a song about using the N word around, let's say, her black cousins, but she was doing it from a perspective of being someone who's perceived ultimately as white and was using the N word and blah, 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 blah. If it's a creative song and it's from her perspective and not an industry thing, I'm fine with it. And let's say if she was just totally white, and let's say it was a white woman that married a black man or has black friends, and they made another creative song about their struggles with the N word and the struggles of being a white person who's so close to black people but can never can feel their struggle, and she used the N word in that song, or he did, I wouldn't be upset about it. The point is it creative? And is it from your perspective? Not someone writing for you to say, not some industry saying we want something controversial, but something that's saying this is how I felt. This is what. But if you listen to that song, Kendrick talks about how hard it was for him to grasp that. Kendrick talks about how hard it was from his friends to grasp that.
Yeah,
Kendrick talks about how his relationship with his aunt was almost fractured, but also so close at the same time. Like it's a lot of nuance there that I think people don't understand because it's so easy just to be like, oh, he used that word. How dare him? And it's like, well, yeah, he was growing up in the 90s where nobody was told that word was taboo. Hell, I didn't stop using that word until I started living with Keisha. And she was like, hey, that word's kind of not cool. And I was like, oh, wow, because I never looked at it as offensive because we used it as like a throwaway line for calling someone stupid or dumb or,
yeah. I
yeah,
would.
like we're
Yeah,
not going to pretend
certain
we're
people
TPC.
when you grow up in the '90s, there was certain, but there's a lot of words that you used that nowadays would definitely get you someone yell at you at least, if not. I mean, and it's not even just like the N word or the F bomb or the R word of some people, but it's a whole bunch of things. But coming from my perspective as a person who's trying to
Mhm.
be a creative and tell stories, I was always thinking like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Like some people might say it's a little wrong that he always puts the N word in there, but like in some
Right.
contexts, you know, it makes sense. Like if you're writing a movie about Django, is it wrong? I mean, but then you could say, is it wrong for Quentin Tarantino to even write a movie about Django in the first place because he has really no cultural context to understand that sort of thing. But I just think maybe in music it might be a little bit less uh savory because it's really just you just saying the word. It's up to people's interpretations. But like in
Mhm.
like movies and books and stuff like that, it's kind of like if you're gonna, especially if you're gonna write characters that are bad guys, or even not even bad guys, but just characters that are people in general, you kind of can't stay away from taboo words, right? You can't do that
Right.
because that's not how people are. And like you can't. It would be disingenuous if you wrote a book about the 1950s South and not have people say the N word, right?
Right.
It'd be
Absolutely.
disingenuous if
Absolutely.
you wrote a book about the '90s and not people just be dropping F bombs like every 2 seconds. So like I understand, like a lot of people that words triggering, those words are triggering, and it brings up a lot of stress and things like that. Hell, especially coming from a guy who grew up in the suburbs and hearing the N word, especially the suburbs of fucking Georgia, that shit's
Right.
triggering, right? But it's also like it happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think with all things in life, and especially in art, um, it's supposed to be, I can say controversial, but it's supposed to be provoking. All
Yeah,
art's supposed to be provoking. If you create something and it doesn't move anything, either positive, negative, and if or it just makes indifference, then you didn't do a good job.
yeah.
Like all art's supposed to, that's the point of art. It's supposed to do
And this
something
is
to
why we're
you.
here today.
Right. Some kind of transformative way. So yeah, again, thank you guys for anybody who's watching in and out there. I really, really appreciate it. I know it is Saturday night. It's 8 p.m. A little bit after 8. I know you taking your pre-warm-up shots to hit the club, hit the bars. I get it. I got a kid. I got 2 kids and I got a wife. So yes, that's why I could do these programs on a Saturday at 8 p.m. Jason just is enjoying his life,
Oh,
but also decided to sacrifice a little bit to come in here because it's for a greater cause.
oh, my son was in here playing video games. He was like, "Oh, I guess it's time for me to go," and he just goes into his room. I was like, "You can stand there. You wouldn't have heard him. He was playing. He got his headphones in. He could have sat there and played the Xbox." But he was like, "Nope, time for me to go." And I was like, "All right."
For anybody not initiated, does not know, we are the 2 hosts, creators, originators of the N Word for Word podcast, and we decided to come up with a book club to highlight authors of color, but especially black ass authors and illustrators and comic book artists, anything black with literature that
Unfortunately,
you
we
can
won't be reading
read.
anything by Clarence Thomas or
Oh,
Candace
I will.
Owens.
Hey, I will read this stuff. Now, I don't want to buy the money that's going to support them, but if somebody wants to give us free copies of it, I will
Honestly,
read this stuff.
if Clarence Owens came out, Candace Owens, I'm sorry, I'm mixing them up. Came out
It's
with
fine. They're the
a
same people.
with a fantasy book, I probably would read that shit. I'd be like, hell, here, go get your money, girl.
Right. Everybody's pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. The
Yeah.
black people aren't upholding to the white establishment, but they're upholding to the other white establishment. Yeah, it'd be a great fantasy
Capitalism.
novel.
Yeah.
Right?
I've read
But yeah.
some very suspect fantasy novels in my day where I'm like, what message are you trying to say here?
Right. So, but yeah, that's what we're doing. We want to highlight authors and people, literature, people of color. And when I say this, we're doing it in the geek and nerd realm. So it's going to be a lot of sci-fi, a lot of fantasy, a lot of adventure, a lot of the cool stuff that we don't usually associate with blackness. And that's what we want to highlight here. So the first one up on our books was Black Sands. I came across the Black Sands from just like anybody. You probably on YouTube and you probably got somebody telling you about how awesome these books are. Also, I ran across it because they have a stop motion cartoon on YouTube, like which is a
Animatic.
mock-up. There you go. Perfect.
I went to
Animatic
art school.
cartoon. And evidently, the rumor is that they have signed with someone to start production on a full-fledged cartoon. Now, I don't
That's
know if it's
awesome.
just going to be a pilot. I don't know if it's going to be a full season or it's just going to be a mini season, but that's exciting news for them. And these things could probably end up being worth collector's items in a few years because they're original, they're the OGs. So hopefully that happens. I'm all for it if that happens. I mean, can you imagine if you're the person that got the first Spawn comic book
Oh
and
my
then they got made
goodness.
into a movie? How important that would have been. So also bring
Nowadays
back Spawn.
they would just make an NFT and just sell you that instead of actually something that you can hold in your hand.
Right.
But yes,
So
also bring back Spawn. There's supposed to be Todd McFarlane was supposed to be working on a new Spawn movie.
that'd be
But
awesome. He should not direct it or write it, but that'd be
oh
awesome.
no. He should just be, executive producer and let actual
creative. He's creative, but let other creators
people whose skills are to make movies, because he's been in the TV world, but he's mostly a comic book writer. And for people who don't know, like, it's different skill sets to write comic books, to write novels, to write movies, to write poems, to write stage plays. They're all different sets of skill sets. And just because you're good at writing a comic book doesn't mean you're going to be good at writing a screenplay, which doesn't mean you're going to be good at writing a novel. Just look at the Fantastic Beast movies that J.K. Rowling wrote. They're terrible. The novels are good.
I was gonna say even go even further. Just watch Sin City 2 in the spirit, and then we
Oh
can
yeah,
close this book on ever having to talk
yeah.
about Todd McFarlane
Frank,
doing any of this stuff.
Frank Miller cannot direct to save his life. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Not
Great
saying that they're
experience.
just one and the same, but it's just they're very similar in the fact that they aren't doing a good job with that.
Yeah, just because you
But
can play
yes,
baseball doesn't mean you can play cricket.
facts. But anyway, yeah, that's the biggest thing too. Again, and I think if we want to highlight people of color, especially Black people in these fields, to get them more fame, get some popularity, and hopefully, one of them will extremely blow up, and we would have been one of the people contributing to that, and we can cosplay as these characters, and
And
people
they
will
can
know who
slide us
they
a
are.
check.
Right. But they won't do that. I
They
mean,
won't
I
do
wouldn't be opposed to it, but they won't do that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, I know people are used to us doing this with movies, but we're going to do it here for this one. And I'm going to put Jason on the spot, but I'm going to give him time.
Oh.
Jason, what is your one sentence review of Black Sands, The Seven Kingdoms, Volume 1 and Volume 2?
Jeez, put me right on the spot. I didn't even think about a fucking sentence right now. Man, these kids about this life.
my one sentence review is blackly black, blackly black, blackly black, blackly black. So look, let's jump right into it. And I don't know if you want to freelance like we do, or if you want to bring up certain categories of the comic and talk about that. Like, do we want to talk about the artwork first? How do you want to do this?
I don't. We can just freelance. We just riff and just see what happens, and then probably have another structure another day. Cause I mean, there's so many things to go over when you come with a graphic novel or a comic book, because they're not all made equally. There's definitely good stories, bad art, but good stories. Shop, drawing, inking. There's a lot of stuff that goes into like a graphic novel and comic book, so we can talk about all. But yeah, I mean, like, I like to start with a story.
Let's start there.
Yeah, let's start with a story.
All right.
So for me, I guess like I like this book. Don't get me wrong. I like these books. They're great.
Here we go.
They're great. Don't get me wrong.
Black on black crime about to be committed.
But y'all just need to stop now. No, this is great. You can definitely tell the limitations of the fact that it's independently produced. So if you were reading like something that was made by Marvel, DC, they got all day to tell a story. Basically, they got like 30-40 pages in an issue to tell a story, which because they're getting paid. They can work on an issue for a month, and but these guys obviously, I mean, even though they have made inroads and made gains and have fans and followings, you can tell that when they were writing a story, they had to go to their day job.
Right.
A lot of it seems like it's a little bit a rush to me. And don't get me wrong, everybody, I really, really, really enjoyed this. But there's times where I was like, oh, I guess they're introducing a brand new character right now, and it's just like, here he is, and there you go. And especially in the beginning of it, it's kind of like it's I don't want to like it's rushing, but like it feels like they started in the middle of the story where they needed to like back up and start a little bit earlier, because in the beginning of the story you don't really get that the prince has been gone for 5 years away from everybody. You might think that he's been hasn't visited his Kush in 5 years, but like he hasn't been with the siblings in 5 years. He's been gone, and you don't really get to that he's been missing, right? And then and you kind of feel like, and it also is like, oh, all these kids in that 5 years have gained different skills, but we're meeting them at the end of that time rather than like at the beginning or whatever. So they're already like fully developed in that way. And like in that way, it's like, it's kind of like, yeah, it's like they started the story in the middle of where they should have started, where they could have started a little bit earlier. But that's because, they probably had a limitation in time, and they're like, let's get to the fun stuff rather than having to go back and do all the backstory first, right? So like, yeah, you could, for me, you can definitely kind of say, okay, yeah, this is definitely an independent book. But what they do present, it's fun. I like
it. Right.
I definitely like the fact that they have a lot of anime influences in here. You can definitely tell that these authors and these creators definitely have watched their fair share of Dragon Ball Z.
Yes,
or
yes, they have.
because they're naming out powers like super salmon strike or whatever, and then it's fun. It's fun. But yeah, the story like it rushes. It goes from 0 to 60, like, and it's all over the place. But the stuff that they do present to you is it's compelling and it's fun, and I like these kids, even though I can't name any one of them. But that's because
There you go. And I'm gonna slide right in. What we talk about the story, and nah, I'm just gonna keep it a bean. The story's tough to keep up with because it moves, and once it does start to get to a solid roll of where they're headed, the direction they're going to go, it kind of goes it gets like a side quest like
yeah.
before. And so even as you finish 1 and 2, now again, it's going to be more, they're nowhere even close to what the mission they even set out to do. Like they're getting sidetracked with a completely other random craziness that like I feel like wasn't needed. So I feel, and again, I don't write anything, so shame on me to ever critique anyone else's writing. But I felt like your volume 1 had too many characters in it, and a lot of those
Mhm.
characters don't even stay into the story. A lot of them
Oh, they
shift
gone by
out of it.
they
Yeah.
gone by volume
So
2.
I
You don't
wish
even
you
talk
would
about
have,
them.
yeah, just kept them like where volume 2 kind of moves. I wish you would have opened up with that. Like that scene where they fight in the courtyard of volume 1. I wish it just would have been between the brothers and sister as a
Hmm.
training routine. And that would have been an easy way to show out their powers, to show what they can do, show who's the leader, et cetera, et cetera. And it had all the elders, the father, the grandfather, all them watching and kind of like critiquing so we can get like more history and backstory. Like you said, like, oh, it's great. The Boba's been training for 5 years with me, and I know I was tough on him. But look at like you can he did a lot of exposition dumps in these moments was showing though, and they do show it, but it's like you could have done more with it. Where in this one, he goes and he's fighting his cousin, and then this happens, and then they go back home, and then like it just was a lot of
There's a
moving that I
lot
thought
going on.
for setting up these characters didn't need to be done. Um, and that's what I say. It's a positive and negative in this book that I kind of want to hit on with the story because I think the authors knew that this is a lot going on and they're giving thumping a lot on our plate at once. They would have these interludes where they would explain some of the characters or the places, but even the historical presence and what it does in this story. I feel like that should have been like the book glossary at the end of the book. Like, I don't know about you. It
Yeah,
felt
between
jarring. Like, it felt like a screech to a halt. And then I'm reading through this stuff, which was very great information. But then after I read all that, I'm like, oh, crap. Like, where did we leave off at? Like, okay, let's rev back up again.
between each issue in the graphic novels, they have an interlude of the actual history of what's going on, and it's like, oh, and this is what we did with it. It's like, yeah, you kind of like stopped.
Right, right.
Yeah, that should have been like something that's in the end of the book rather than between each segment, to explain it to, because we would have rocked with it no matter what. We don't give a shit what Kush is or
Right.
what Kushite or whatever they're, or you just name them. We'll just keep going, and then you could tell us after the story's done what's going on. Like, but
Yeah,
I
we
like
leave
the
in
fact that they put
Westeros.
the yeah.
Like, we leave in Westeros. So we just would have went with it. Like, this is
Yeah.
no, the people that know would have known is real. The people that don't know would have went with it as fantasy. And at the end of it, you could have explained the real origins of it. Didn't need it in the middle. Now, granted, we know that if we would have been buying this weekly or monthly, this stuff would have been ended like the end of each comic.
Yeah.
But for this brand, I thought it would be more effective. It just would have been the end of the book. Like they could have reworked it and just put it at the end. So that like I said, the story is kind of jarring. Like you said, keeping up with who and each character is kind of hard at first because again, they introduced so many of them at front. If they just would have kept that 4-pack and introduced that 4-pack really only, that would have made it easier. And I think I'd have left the book, like you said, knowing each other their names because it just would have been them for the whole run.
And sometimes they introduce like, because I definitely was it was kind of jarring because I did understand the relationship of the characters to other characters at first. So
Right.
especially there's a scene where the first time he gets beat by his cousin, his father comes up to him and it's like, oh, it's okay. And then I guess his grandfather comes up to him and it's like, nah, that was some bleak ass shit. And like,
Right.
at first I thought they were the same character and I was like, what's going on? Because I didn't realize that his grandfather
All black
was the
people look
Pharaoh.
alike.
Yeah,
Oh,
and all black
sorry,
people
my
look alike.
fault.
They're drawn very similar.
Well, they're related. That's why.
Yeah, that's why. So I was like, wow, that's a huge 180 for him to be like, I guess he's bipolar or something like that. For him to be like, oh, because I thought his dad was the pharaoh, and then his grandfather, his grandfather was a character. So that's because it was just kind of confusing storytelling. But once you get the fact that that was his grandfather, not his father, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But they do introduce like their uncles, their mother, like
Hmm.
their advisors' kids, you know, the dude they met from like 3 weeks ago. You know, and
Right,
every one of these
right.
kids has like, oh, I got a friend that knows. I'm like, and it's like, oh yeah, this is my friend, and then they'll go and do the backstory with the friend, how they met the friend or whoever, and like why they know this person. So especially in the beginning part of volume 2, they do that a lot, and it's like just keep it keel, keep the boat on the same course, guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, that, and I because so that I mean, and like you mentioned before, and you put a wrinkle into it. I never thought. Where you talked about they're not being sure if they're going to have another issue or anything
Yeah,
like that, so they have to get in and fill in what they can. If anybody's just joining us, this is the first official N Word for Nerd book club. We are reviewing Black Sands, The Seven Kingdoms, Volume 1 and Volume 2. We just talked a little bit about the story. I think me and both Jason both felt the story could have been a little stronger, a little tighter. It kind of just felt like a lot of moving parts and a lot of people and a lot of characters you're throwing at me, and it was hard to keep up with who was who. And then I think Volume 2 does a way better job of it, because Volume 2 was very condensed in the attitude of what's going forward. But even then, we still have pirates, another dude with powers, another whole kingdom with a queen. Like it's a lot.
volume 2 pisses me off because they end it right at about while they're about to go kick some ass, and I'm like, there's
Right.
no more. What the hell? It's like, oh yeah, we need a day and a half to get our army together. It's like, all right, we got this until then, don't worry. And then
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh,
oh,
it was also
and
definitely Lord of the Rings. Like, we'll hold him off, Gandalf. And when the sun rises, look to the hill. We're like, yes.
yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Like, nope, end.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it definitely the story could have been. But again, like I said, after what you said, then I kind of want to. I'm gonna back off the story. Um, let's jump into the meat of it. Let's jump into the art, the illustration. I mean,
Oh,
you being an animation guy, we let's go.
so like, all right, so my introduction to black comic books was back in the 90s, when basically you just had someone do a color pencil drawing and get that shit scanned, and that's what their book was.
Yeah.
So you usually have like the art being like, it's not very professional, it's not very polished, as I would say. But this
Right.
book, it looks good. The character designs, with the exception of a few, are they're very detailed, very unique. I definitely love the kids. The kids each have very different, unique looks to them. Their silhouettes are great. You can definitely tell them apart from one another. Um, I mean, they're going with the whole motif of Egypt, of the Egyptian stuff. They probably could have pushed the designs a little bit more, but I guess they're going for a more historical accurate sort of portrayal of these characters. But they're definitely, the art looks good. The inking is great. The color is great. It's very, very vibrant, very, very polished, very professional looking. It's kind of like I'm saying, oh, these guys are very, very, articulate for black people.
Right. Yeah. I didn't want to call you out on it, but I was like, I'm gonna let you just ride, let you just have it.
You are very well spoken for for a black guy. But like from my original impressions of independent comic books, they normally aren't very good. Let's just call a spade a spade. They aren't very polished. They don't look very good. But this one, the art design is on point. Like, you don't have any woggly joggly character designs from panel to panel like you might see in other independent books. Uh, the kid with the vitiligo is by far the best one,
Oh,
honestly. But
100%. 100%. If he was only born a couple of years earlier.
yeah, he's the smartest. Which also, I mean, we're gonna go to the characterizations of this in a bit, but like, he actually probably gets the most characterization out of all these kids.
Yes.
But yeah, like the art is great. It's stellar. It's good. It's I can't. There's not any parts that I can fault the art itself, right? Like, from
Absolutely.
panel to panel, it looks good. Like it's very well done. It's like, it looks like they actually, and which is cool about today's age is that you have, even as an independent artist, you kind of have access to, all the tools and techniques that, professionals have, because we have computers now. You can, do very high quality uh colorist layouts, high quality ink designs without having to, have some old Jewish guy from 1940s, ink line, panel by panel for the next 40 hours this week. But yeah, I really do dig the art style. Yeah, I can't say enough about it, honestly.
Um, Look, I wasn't so much surprised because, like I said, when we started this, I did see the animatronic tractic, anyway, the motion comic that, that they produced,
Animatic.
and that was really good. Oh, the asthmatic, yes, the asthmatic.
The asthmatic. Get out of here.
I did see that. And then I did, like I said, if you look at some of the stuff they put online, you can see some of the artwork in that work as well. So I'll admit, like, as I was reading this book, I was taken aback. Like, I wasn't so taken aback as quickly, but I will say this about all of that is that, man, if they don't do a great job of putting together and stringing together fight scenes in this book, like, as a guy who's grown up reading comics and X-Men and these huge mass battles and etc., I mean,
Yeah, these are.
these panels are just like amazing in the fight scenes, man. It's very, I'm gonna use this word in a static sense, but it's very fluid for the pages. How they panel each page, especially in the fights, is hugely important in a comic, and I feel like they knocked that out the park. Like, that is, for whatever weaknesses I had in the story, they definitely brought the heat when it comes to the animation
these
paneling.
these
Um,
kids about that life.
oh
They're
yeah.
like,
They want to throw down.
oh, we about to throw hands? Yeah, hell yeah, let's do this.
So I can't have any hate, slander, or anything about this. And like I said, even going to that point, I think it's a hidden gem that people don't talk about a lot, and especially in comic books, is the paneling of pages,
Oh
from
yeah,
conversations to fighting. That's a huge part of how you read and how you enthrall yourself into the comic. Um, they hit it out the park on it, man. Like that, the paneling is crisp. It's easy to follow. Um, I've had it. Some people that, when example of poor paneling is, you'll be reading some part of it, and then you'll go to the next line, and then the next thing doesn't make any sense, and then you realize, like, oh, the next
oh,
panel should have been read down here rather than, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, but I didn't experience that here. Like, most of the paneling I could get, right, read perfectly fine, and keep up and find out. I think maybe once I probably slipped and, like, was like, hold on, that doesn't fit here. But for the most part, it was more just me not paying attention, less of the paneling not actually leading you to the next part of it. So I mean, I'm here for it. I'm with you, man. Great job on it. Kudos on
and
that.
as I said earlier, you can definitely tell they have a lot of manga influences in this. Like, this is almost like it's a Japanese
Oh,
comic.
absolutely.
Like, just the way they stage things is very, very, very anime-ish inspired, and it's, I mean, you can tell kind of in the art design and the character design that they are inspired by manga and Japanese influences. But, you know, and from coming from a guy who's like, oh, fuck anime and shit, this is fine.
That's high praise. Yes, yes.
So it's, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, as I said, I don't want to be like, oh, I can't believe these Negroes did this, but like, it's good.
they didn't. They didn't. The Negroes are learning by the day.
Yeah.
So I mean, other than, what about the characters? I think that kind of ties a little bit into story, but just focusing on the characters themselves. What do you think? Like, and I know you mentioned one that gets the most backstory and the most fleshing out, but
Yeah.
what do you think of the characters here? I mean,
Well, I mean, they do the most with the kid, with especially the brothers. The two, I guess, their oldest boys. I guess
right?
the girls kind of get like only a small smattering of character development. You get to learn more about the oldest brother, the prince. That he's just a just a rage ball. He's just
Yes, yes.
like, he's always willing to fight, and like you kind of like after a while you understand like, oh yeah, because his grandfather abused him for 5 years. That's why he's always willing to throw hands. You know, but you get more character development of his brother, the one with the vitiligo, because I don't know, it's just like he seems to be the smarter of the two, the more diplomatic of the two, the more, dare I say, kingly of the two.
Right, right.
Because he's the one that's always like, no, we gotta think this through. We gotta, use our heads and like, find a solution that doesn't involve us, punching someone in the face. Even though like his powers are pretty neat too. Like, I mean, they all got pretty good powers, but like it seems that I guess the main boy, I guess is Asir or whatever his name is, he gets his ass kicked a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, yo, if you didn't just run in there and start fighting, you wouldn't have got your ass beat.
Right. Have you learned nothing, son?
Yeah. Even though he's like the most powerfulest dude in this universe, I guess, he still gets his ass handed to him all the time.
Absolutely.
But
yeah,
I guess with the character development of it, like pretty much everybody else, every other, I would even say like NPC in this, they just like, oh, here they are. Here's something about them, and we'll never see them again.
Right, you're right. They may come around later, but they may not. Yeah, no, the characters here, and like you said again, like a lot of I think it's also an issue of not remembering their name because they don't have common Americanized names,
anglicized names,
yeah, that we have drilled in. Like if their name was like John and Jack and Jackie, and we would be like, yeah, John was killing it, yeah. Like it'd be easy to remember. So I think that's part of it. But I think also the characters, especially the oldest brother and the younger brother, the characterization always feels on point. That's what I will give Volume 1. Volume 1, I think, is a lot going on, but when they introduce these characters and what they're about and what their personalities are, it's that consistent through the whole thing. Our main lead, the oldest brother, when you first meet him, he like, yeah, I'm waiting to see homeboy because I'm about to put these hands on him. Last time he got
he's
me,
about to get his ass whooping real quick.
Right. But he's
and
like
they on a diplomatic mission. And they're on a
right.
diplomatic mission to another kingdom. And he's like, as soon as I see this dude is on site.
Right, 100%. 100%. But he keeps that characterization all the way through. Every time it's time to fight, he like, oh, what up? Let's go. Let's get it. You guys keep running to the boat. I'm gonna handle these fools. Like and even like you said, the younger brother with vitiligo, his characterization of just being very cerebral, very calculated. He like you said, builds diplomatic relationships and etc. He keeps that. So whenever something goes out of that realm, he gets super cautious, as in like, this is the wrong way to do this because, hey, we're in another kingdom. You shouldn't do this. Or, hey, like, you got to remember, we're royalty. So we represent, like, he always is that voice of the royal diplomatic treatment.
And also with that, and even more to his character, is that people are afraid of him because of his skin condition.
Yes.
So people think he's a demon, and he's still like, no, let me like talk my way through this. Let me reason this out, because like, even though I got powers, I could fuck all y'all up. I'm not going to, because y'all just don't understand where I'm coming from. And it's like,
actually, to be even crazier, like when I was reading it, I felt like they took his character. If somebody told me his character was inspired by Gaara from Naruto, I would not be surprised, because we do get a little bit of his backstory where he's a lot brutal, and Gaara has a brutal backstory. But also, once Gaara gets older and he's more reasonable, they both control sand, and like they're both very precise and diplomatic with Naruto and all that. Like he feels like if somebody watched Naruto and was like, I like Gaara, I want to make a black version of him, but way doper. That's what the younger brother feels like. And then even his sisters, the one that can't control her power, I love the moment they give her in Volume 2, where it's like, yeah, she still ain't there yet, but she can empathize with someone else who's even worse off than what she was.
Yeah.
And then the older sister, who had the Grace Jones like hot top fade, which is, she's dope as hell too. And but they really don't flesh out what her powers really are.
do whatever the situation requires. Because I guess
Right.
she can like project herself, but then project herself into the projection, and then it's a
And then
little.
she had like that coin moon thing that got like a dead like person to
No,
come and help. Like,
he wasn't dead. He's the brother's friend's kid.
oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
He's
Yeah, you're
got
right.
powers.
See,
A lot of
so
times
many
they
people.
just pull shit out of nowhere and you're just like, just go with it. Like, oh, I guess they're doing this right now. Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I just have a magical moon baby. I also know a pirate. Like,
right. We call MacGuffin 1, MacGuffin 2. Bring them on down. So is that, and then even to like the characterizations of all the auxiliary characters, we call the non-playable characters, as you would call it.
NPCs,
You
man.
know who they are and what they're about, like with one or two sentences every time, and it's like, oh, got it. Like, what was it? The I can't think of the name of them, but the ones that were stuck to the area that they couldn't leave. I can't think of what. Oh man, I'm losing my brain on what they called them. But the ones that like were chasing the kids when they were trying to leave the city,
Oh
but
yeah,
they were
those
bound to the
they were
city.
constructs, whatever they're called. I can't remember what they're called. I'm looking at them
Right,
right
but
now.
the point is like you understood all three of their personalities, who they were, what kind of tropish character they were, and they stuck to that. Like one was the tough, very quick, hot-headed guy.
This kid is
The
ready to
other,
fucking fuck them all up. I
right,
don't give a. Yo, y'all work for me. I'm gonna fuck you up anyway.
right. They're like, don't kill him. And I'm like, whoa, you're supposed to be protecting these kids. And you gotta be reminded not to kill them. Like, how about that? But so look, I will give probably a B plus in the characterizations. The only reason I don't give it an A is because, like you said, we don't really remember their names. We know who they are and what they do and what they about, but we don't know their names. But that's good characterization, at least that we know what their ethos and everything are, how they're going to roll through this world. So
it's better than Avatar.
120%. James Cameron don't care about people; he care about the premise. World building, as you guys, me and you both being huge fantasy guys, the fantasy genre, if it does not build a world that we respect and love and want to visit ourselves, what are your thoughts on the world building, Jason? What are you
I
giving
mean,
it? What do you think?
I, as I said, with the fact the limitation that they got to go to their day job, they have to cover a lot because they're not just presenting us with ancient Egypt. They're presenting us with this heightened version of ancient Egypt, where they're taking all this Egyptian lore and Northern African lore and kind of like turning it into their own sort of different thing. And they got a lot to cover.
Yeah, facts.
They got a lot because they're not just doing they're doing all the ancient world over. They got ancient Sparta, ancient Greece, the Minoans, all sorts of stuff that they cover in these two volumes. And it's kind of hard to feel like the world is very lived in because we only are seeing it through the perspective of these princely beings. And when they interact with normal people, it's usually like, oh, you just fell out the sky, that's crazy, here's a piece of bread, have a nice day.
Right.
Like, they don't really give us a lot of like just to see the world as it is because they got a story to tell right now, so they don't have time to just have an interlude of the fucking farmer sitting around eating peaches and going, isn't it crazy that our kingdoms, our rulers have powers? That's nuts, right? And they like to go and fight monsters. Like, no, they don't have none of that. But from what they present on the page, you can definitely feel the scope of it, that there is a whole world here that like, and it's not just from the fact that, oh, they're just using ancient Egypt. You can definitely tell they put a lot of thought and design behind this world that they're presenting to us. It's just that we don't get the whole thing because we don't have time to get the whole thing,
Right.
And
right.
it would probably be a very boring book if they were just like, let's stop and let's talk about the world for a second. Because as you said, they have the interludes in the end of it, and it just totally like pauses the story. It totally just like puts everything on a skid stop when you're reading these interludes. That should have been more in the back so you can flesh out the world more. But yeah, for what they got here on the page, it's pretty good.
So the world building, I think because we talk about the strength of the story, I think the story hurts some of the world building, which you kind of already mentioned. I almost kind of chuckled that volume 2 was like had them at sea, and I was like, oh man, this is like Avatar 2. It's like, water is life. They had all these sands and sandals, all the volume 1, and it was like volume 2, get on the boat.
Spike
So I
Lee's
was
get on the
kind of
boat.
right. So I thought that was pretty exciting to me to be like, oh man, and they're getting on the boat. I I wish there were more, I wish it felt like more diversity in the cities that they were in. Because if you go from where they will be open at the diplomatic part, it's sandals and homes, and then you get to their kingdom again, it's sandals and sands and homes, and then we get to they travel across the sea, and it's sandals and which they did try to
There's
almost.
white people there though.
Yes, I was about to say. I was like, they did kind of try to like, I don't call it disrespect, but kind of like snicker at the white folks, like, oh, you worship a Titan, but ain't they bad? You got some fools, and even the white folks like that's why we don't share people our ways. Like
that's why we don't invite y'all nowhere.
Right,
Always
like,
judging people.
Black asses are so judgy. Fuck you. But it just and now and I know people are like, oh, it's in Africa. What the fuck? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I feel like in part of being in the fantasy realm, or you have to kind of liven up every area to make it feel different a little bit, to make it feel vibrant, to make it feel lived in, that these people have different customs and different realities and different situations. Like, I'm sorry, like after you traverse the whole like sea, I expect the place that you land to have a different look than the place you just left. Like, I don't
Also,
feel like it should look the same.
in the historical thing about this, especially in Egypt during that time, which is 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, especially in the Nile River Delta part of Egypt, that place wasn't just sand; it was fucking lush as hell. It's grass, and trees, and also that's why they had a civilization there, because they were able to, off of the Nile, it gets more deserty because it is a fucking desert, but like they don't really show the fact that like that part of Egypt at that time was like kind of a nice place to live, and it is the backgrounds are very pyramid, beige brown pyramid.
Yeah.
And then
it pretty much looked like Aladdin. It looked like Aladdin.
And now another pyramid, but this one's white.
Right. Come on down. Come rather around. Yeah. And so I just did not make me fully immerse myself in the world. Luckily enough, like you said, the characters were intriguing enough and about that life enough. It made me want to keep following, but the world never felt. And again, I hate to say this, like you're doing art, you can stop and do a panel of a pan shot to show this world, like show this whole kingdom and show the vibrance of it or show the beauty of it. And especially with you doing art that's taking place in Africa, I hate to say this, I need you to show Africa as a beautiful, wonderful place, because most people's vision of Africa is not that. And if you ever go to Africa, which I haven't been, and I know we're talking about a continent, but any country, and most countries in Africa look very beautiful, and we don't get that over here in America. So this book, I felt, had a great opportunity here to show old, Africa and areas like that being, like you said, the lush, beautiful kingdoms that they were. And I think that was a missed opportunity in the world building portion of this book.
Looking back through this, it's like you're right. There's not a single like a splash page of just the landscape. Usually when they do like a full page spread, they only do like full page panels, and it's of some sort of action of like some horses or a creature or something. But there's never like an establishing shot of like this huge lush kingdom, and that's probably one of the biggest detriments of this book. Is like, you are focused on the characters here, but you need to take a break, take a pause, and show, because if you think about like Spider-Man or Batman or anything like that, they always have room for just showing the city, right?
Yep.
Like, especially Batman books, it's like you can't go an issue without just being a fucking splash page of just Gotham and Batman sitting over there brooding over how fucking awesome God. Look how awesome this place looks. This is so great.
Right.
I get to be here.
Sitting on a gargoyle, looking over the city.
Just being sad as shit. Like, look how you got all these statues. Why are you so sad? Oh yeah, because of all the poverty and crime. That's right.
And the mental ill people that are running around rampant in the city.
Your solution is to punch him in the mouth. Like, oh,
Yeah. Punch that bitch in the face.
I'm sorry, Mr. Autistic Riddler. Bop. Is it better? Did I cure your autism? I didn't. Let's try it again. Whack.
No, yeah. Let me punch harder this time. I'll wind up.
But yeah, I would say that's one of the major flaws of this book. Is this? It's just not one, and they have the talent to do it. They obviously have the skill and the ability to do it. It's just not there because they probably didn't have the time to do it. There probably is some nice ass drawing sitting in somebody's fucking studio that's like, oh, this would have been awesome, and like, oh, we only got 15 pages on this fucking because it's gonna cost us $300 to get this shit printed. And I don't get paid till next week, so cut that shit out.
We ain't got time or the budget. Next, actually, just throw in a fight scene. People love the fight scenes.
Why are you drawing all this fruity shit, man? This fight scene,
right? Ain't nobody trying to watch a damn tree. Other than that, I mean, that's all the categories I really have. Unless you have something else you want to talk about and mention, we can go to recommendations. But what any other thoughts you got before we kind of
covered it? I think we covered everything. We covered art, we covered story, we covered character. We covered the cover. Look at the cover. Look how nice this cover.
Oh, it's beautiful. Such a beautiful cover.
It definitely sells you on it. Yeah, I think we just go straight to recommendations right now. We can recommend or not recommend the set of books here.
Right. Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm gonna. So I'm gonna start off and say I'm gonna recommend the book, but I'm gonna recommend the book with the caveat that I think the people creating this have so much talent and potential that if we boost their sales and get them the budget and make this like their full-time gig or make this something that they can only focus on.
I'm sure there's a full-time gig now.
Yeah. But I mean, like something they can really just focus. Like if we can support them and make this greater for them, I feel like the product we will get will jump exponentially. And that's why I will recommend it, because I think for what they're doing or what they've done with the time, with the level of money and everything they've afforded themselves, and I don't know their budgets, but I'm assuming because they're independent, they're not raking in the dough like the other ones are to get the time and energy or the staff to do all this. But for what they've done, I think it's great. And I think that I will recommend it basically solely on that part that this could be the stepping stones to something that can, like, their cartoon can, if they do that right, it can be the next Avatar. Like they have the
TV show, not the movie, guys.
Yes. The last Airbender. They have the people, the look, the vibe, the feel. Now they just got to tighten the story, because that's probably the most important thing about the last Avatar, the last Airbender and Korra, is the stories are so tight. But they have it all here. They just got to do a little tighter job on the story. So I'm recommending it based on that. I liked it and I thought it was dope. But even more so that I think the flaws in this book could be remedied if we actually supported them. Let's say that.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, this is definitely a great first and second effort. Obviously, you definitely can feel the passion and the time that it took to produce both these things in these books. Is it the most? Is it the next Watchmen? Not right now.
Right.
This is for those people who are longtime comic book readers, this is probably not going to really, really blow your mind, but it is a good foundation for something that will probably blow your mind later on. And I would recommend just getting on the ground floor right now, so that when it does become something super popular, like, I was the guy first that saw this and thought this was awesome. You guys are just posers. Like, I'm a true fan.
Right. Also, let's just give a shout out to having something Black and creative that ain't about the struggle.
Yeah,
like it's royalty. It's like a lot. It ain't slavery running around. Like it's
they're not going to me. White supremacy sucks.
Right. And I mean, they look at these white folks like, bruh, you better slow down because we'll put these hands on you. Like, don't talk to me like that, whole boy. You know who I am in these streets? I'm fucking the prince. I'm the artist formerly known as. Don't come to me talking crazy. But no, I'm here for it. So I recommend it, guys. Please, if you go out, grab you your copies, Volume 1, Volume 2. They also have tons of stuff on there. They have The First Pharaoh, which is a prequel to these. They have other characters besides the Black Sands one, and so I would not be surprised if you see us creep back into their line and pull something else out and review, because I really did enjoy Black Sands, The Seven Kingdoms. They're actually the seventh volume. Well, not because this is volume 1, volume 2 of the pack, but the basic continuation number 7 has been put out. I'm probably going to wait till they combine it until volume 3 so I can get all of it, but it is out already, I think, for $9.99 on their website. So if you get to the end of volume 2 and you're ready for that one, that war, hold off war, you can get the first part of it already on Black Sands Entertainment. So please go ahead and cop that if you have not. Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say for that last bit, for those people who don't know why we were so stoked about this, like they literally end this book, these kids about to fucking fight like we about this, and it's like
right.
it's like 1,000 ships. It's like 1,000 ships, like a whole bunch, and it's like 5 of them, and they're like, "Oh, this will be fine. We'll be fine. This is easy."
They're like, how long do you take to get reinforcements? Oh, we have to wait at least till the morning. Oh, we got this. Call them.
I thought I was gonna say something hard, like a day or two. I don't know. We got this. Overnight. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
All they requested was
like, hurry because they might not be
some archers. Let's go. He's like, just give me some archers. That's why they were like, yeah, we need some archers. Other than that, we got the rest. So yeah, that is our review on Black Sands, The Seven Kingdoms. Again, the N-word for nerd, part 1, the first book club we got. I just recently did a show with Tino Talks. Check them out on YouTube. We talk about the Black Panthers and Black people in the Black diaspora. Very, very good conversation there. Definitely check out his YouTube channel. Again, Tino Talks. For us, if you have not liked, shared, or subscribed, again, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitch. So please, check us out, Headcanon Circus, on YouTube and on Facebook, and then under js.b.allen under Twitch right now. So check us out there. I know it's a lot.
That shit.
Yeah. We're probably just gonna change it to Headcanon Circus too as well very soon. We just wanted to see if people actually wanted to see us on Twitch, and it seems like we're getting some good feedback on that. So we'll definitely probably have to change that as well. But check us out on all those locations. But here's the thing I'm most important and excited about. Jason, what are you choosing as the book number 2 that we're going to read for the book club?
We got to obviously got to keep it black. So I know that this book will be made into a TV show. I think a TV show, if not a movie, sometime pretty sure. I think it's already in production. But this book is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I'm probably butchering her name. Tomi Adeyemi. I'm butchering her last name. I'm so sorry. Please don't cancel me. I'm American and I have a thick American tongue, and I'm uncultured. I'm a swine. I'm sorry.
You heard that, ladies? He has a thick American tongue.
Yeah.
Go ahead, ladies.
But Children of Blood and Bone, yeah. I've already read it, but I'll read it again. So I just want other people's opinions, because I've already read it, but I'll read it again because I want to read it again because I listened to it on tape. So I need to actually buy a copy and read it.
Okay. So you said Children of Blood. I'm actually, like, right now as you speak, buying my copy on Amazon. But Children of Blood and Bone, Blood and Bone.
Yeah. Which, okay, so as we're wrapping up here, I kind of have a problem, okay? And this is with just generally Black fantasy, and it's not really a problem as per se because it's what Black fantasy would be, but we are very, very Africa-centric, which is fine. Which is great. But I'm African American. I need some Black shit that's just for about. I need Jaquan Jenkins and some shit. All right. I need me my lead character to be Deshaun, Williams to, sometimes, right? But I'm gonna read this again for the second time, and I'm gonna save what I think about this book until our next book club. But yeah, definitely go pick this one up. Jason.
Yes, I'm excited, dude. Like, look, man, you ain't got to tell me nothing but a word there. So yeah, Children of Blood and Bone, we got it up there. Legacy of Irish or
Orisha.
Orisha, excuse me.
Yeah, Orisha is West African mythology. There's a lot of different sort of things that go into that. So, and in this one, they definitely do a lot of real world West African things. So, which is pretty. We'll review later.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm debating if I want to just send it to my Kindle or if I just want to buy the paperback. That's what I'm debating right now.
I'm gonna give me a hard copy. I'm gonna need to build my library. It's gonna be like
Yeah,
a lot of
I got a
leather
ton in
bound
that
books.
library right now, and I know if I bring home another book, my wife is going to be like, "God damn it, Jason! I bought you a Kindle for a reason." And I'm gonna be like, "But I like the feel of the real book."
I just like the smell of it.
You like the smell of it?
Yeah, I like the smell of real books. It's weird. I don't know. Just like open.
Remember that, ladies? He's a thick tongue, and he likes the smell of it. So, all you ladies out there.
I know my mom's not watching this anymore.
Right? We're gonna turn this book club into like the Jason Club.
Hey, ladies, I'm single for all you guys out there. Yeah,
like Books of Love, starring Jason.
I do not know how to clean. I can cook. I am not very neat or very smart, so deal with that.
I mean, you should better than half right there. So good.
I do have a job and my own car.
Oh, there you go. That's how you sell yourself there. There you go. But yes, guys, thank you everybody who's listening and watching. If you're watching this on the rebroadcast, again, thank you so much. If you guys don't know the plight of this is again to highlight authors of color, especially Black authors and illustrators and everything in the sci-fi, fantasy, literary genre that is Black. If you have suggestions of people that Black artists and authors and people that you want us to highlight and read, put it in the comments, man. We can put it on our schedule after this. We'll probably schedule our episode 2 of this sometime in June. We'll let you know. We'll put up an event on all our socials, let everybody know when that's coming up. So we're excited for that. But go out and get your copy of Children of Blood and Bone. I think it seems like it's going to be a good, fun story here. Jason's already read it, but he's going to reread it. But again, thank you guys so much. I want to make sure, as being blurbs, that we give something back to the Blurred Nation. I mean, it's one thing to give you this awesome show that we give you. It's another thing to give you something of actionable things. So please take this serious because I think it's more important than just being like, oh, well, they're just trying to get us to do something. We don't get paid for reviewing these. We don't get paid from the people. We don't even know these people. We just want to do something that's for the culture. And I think that is very, very important. So guys, please, please, please go out and grab the book, enjoy the book, then join us when we review the book.
Or don't. You don't have to enjoy things. You know, you could just be one of these, emo motherfuckers out here just saying, oh, everything sucks. But, it's more fun to enjoy things.
I love the Black guy that decided to get the perm or flat comb so he gets the emo hair.
It's the bangs right here. Right. I'm so glad that my parents didn't let me straighten my hair. Thank God.
So yeah, man. Like that again, I can't appreciate it enough. Also, we're going to record our normal show probably tomorrow or Monday. In that show, we're going to do our comments where we read our comments and we comment on your comments. So the comments you leave will get read. So please comment because we will read it on the show. And I already filtered out, grabbed all the YouTube ones. I haven't even gone through the Facebook ones yet. So we may end up with like a 30-40 comment reading show, which may just become the show. So
yeah, just us. Because honestly, we can just skip the movies that we watch this weekend.
right. Yeah, like hated it. I mean, sorry, spoiled. Sorry. But thank you guys so much as always. Jason, you got any final words?
Of course, always be kind, be considerate, and tip your bartenders and servers at least 20% if you can afford it. If not more, a little bit more if you can afford it. Except for Jaron, you can just spit in his face.
Yeah, he's no longer going to be serving.
Oh yeah, he's no longer going to be a bartender anymore. So maybe if you see him on the street,
back on the show,
right? Give him a couple of 1-2.
As always, guys, thank you all for listening and watching. We will see you all next time. Peace. Blackity black, blackity black.